First of all, I'd like to sincerely extend my heartfelt thanks to Lavangalatika Mataji, who has given me this opportunity on the occasion of Ekadashi to study a little bit more deeply the Bhagavad-Gita and purify my thoughts and voice by engaging in this service. So thank you very much, Mataji. And I'd like to thank everybody who has come here to listen also on this auspicious occasion of Ekadashi, which is Bhakti Janani. So thank you all for coming. Today we are reading from the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 17, titled Divisions of Faith, and verse 7. So we'll start with a few prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. So the verses that we just repeated now, especially the last one, says that as soon as one has the desire to hear about Krishna, he becomes irrevocably placed in your heart. So what to speak of desire when one actually comes and sits and listens? You can imagine what you get from Krishna. So thank you all for coming. So we'll read the verse. It's chapter 17, verse 7. Aharastvapi sarvasya trividho bhavati priyah yajnastapas tatha danam tesham bhedam imam shrinu. Ahara, eating. Tu, certainly. Api, also. Sarvasya, of everyone. Trividha, of three kinds. Bhavati, there is. Priya, dear. Yajna, sacrifice. Tapaha, austerity. Tatha, also. Danam, charity. Tesham, of them. Bhedam, the differences. Imam, this. Shrinu, here. Even the food that each person prefers is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Now hear of the distinctions between them. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In terms of different situations in the modes of material nature, there are differences in the manner of eating and performing sacrifices, austerities, and charities. They are not all conducted on the same level. Those who understand analytically what kind of performances are in what modes of material nature are actually wise. Those who consider all kinds of sacrifice or food or charity to be the same cannot discriminate, and they are foolish. There are missionary workers who advocate that one can do whatever he likes and attain perfection. But these foolish guides are not acting according to the direction of the scripture. They are manufacturing ways and misleading the people in general. Om Ajnaniti Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namoste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripasindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So in this chapter, in the previous chapter, so Bhagavad-Gita actually, apologies, Bhagavad-Gita deals with many topics, but in three divisions. The first 6 chapters cover the activities and results of Karma Yoga. The middle 6 chapters from 7 to 12 cover Bhakti-yoga, and 13 to 17 cover Jnana Yoga, and 18 is again a summary of everything and the conclusion of the entire Gita. So this section, chapter 17, is then the last chapter dealing with instructions on Jnana Yoga. And before this, in chapter 16, Krishna has just now described the divine and demoniac natures. And here he is giving a little bit more information and a deeper classification of the degrees between divine and demoniac. It's not clear cut, it's not black and white. So in chapter 17, he's covering the gray areas in between as well. And here he starts with, he explains that, there are these 3 modes, and it's not just divine and just like it's not just divine and demoniac. Just like when a teacher wants to introduce a subject, you give the caption of what you're going to talk about, and you give the main categories that you will talk about, and then you go into details. So Krishna is the supreme teacher, and we all follow this example. We've all been to school and universities, and this is how we've studied. So here now he talks about the gray areas, and he starts with food. He says that there are these 3 divisions, and these are applicable in our lives in various ways. And he spends, in 13 verses, he describes each of these in detail, that the food that you eat, the austerities that you perform, the sacrifices that you do, charity, your body, speech, mind, penance, everything, he describes that in detail. And we may wonder, as devotees who are following Bhakti Yoga, and why do we need to sit and listen to this? We can just read chapters 7 to 12, and that's enough for us. But that talks about devotion and pure devotional service. In our journey towards pure devotional service, I think we learn a lot. And by understanding how these activities can be in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, we can use this as a barometer to see for ourselves where we are and what kind of activities are we performing, and how can we perhaps elevate ourselves to the mode of goodness. Because you need to come to the mode of goodness to start pure devotional service, at least. And one thing is very important here is that we don't use these to judge other people, to say, he's eating chilies, he's in mode of passion, or he's eating, food that was cooked yesterday, or he's eating pickle that's cooked, takes months to cook. Because these indications that have been given by Krishna are for the devotee to come to him. The other devotees are not coming to us. So we are not in any position to judge whether the other person is performing an activity in a mode of goodness or passion or ignorance. So I think that's something that we all have to be very careful about. And then he describes all of these things so that the jiva, human beings who have this inquiring nature of why I'm here, what is my relationship with God, so that they can embrace the sattva gun in all the activities that they perform. And these three gunas are commensurate with the types of jivas that we have. So the jivas broadly fall into these categories as well. The mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Again, this is also not completely clear cut. And normally you're in mode of goodness in the morning, then the mode of passion takes over, and in the night the mode of ignorance takes over. So this is also a gradual thing, and it's not clear cut. And here Krishna starts with food, because food is the support of all life, and the purity of mentality is dependent on the food you eat. In Hindi there is a saying, Jaisa Ann, Vaisa Man. So the type of grains that you consume, your mind will be of a similar proclivity. And I found a nice quote from the Chandogya Upanishad also that says, Apam Somya Pujam Annam, which means that the essence of whatever food is eaten rises up and becomes the mind. And in relationship to this, I heard a story about a Supreme Court judge in Calcutta, and he had been invited to a meal at a friend's house, whom he knew very well. And they were both Vaishnavas, so he accepted the invitation. And he went there, meal was prepared very nicely, they had some exchanges, he came back home, he hung his coat, and a couple of days later he put that coat on again, the same coat that he wore to his friend's house for the meal. And he put his hands in his pocket and he felt something, so he brought it out. And it was a silver spoon. And it was the silver spoon that had been served at his friend's house. The meal was served in silver plates and everything. He was very surprised to find that. He thought, how did this get in here? So he was very perplexed. But then he did his spiritual practices of the day, and then he realized that he had picked up that spoon from his friend's house. So he had actually stolen the spoon. And he is a Supreme Court judge. And he was very perplexed by his behavior. So he called his friend and he said, who cooked the meal that day when I came to your house? Because what I have done, I have never done this in my life. So who cooked the meal? So the judge, his friend then asked his wife, and he said, oh yeah, our regular cook who is a devotee couldn't come. He fell ill, so he sent somebody else. So the judge said, I'd really like to meet this person. Is it possible for me to meet with him? So the person said, his friend said, yes, of course. So that person came to his house, and the Supreme Court judge then asked him, he said, who are you? And what is your profession? How do you know the cook? He said, no, we're long distance relatives, and I came back after a long time and he was ill, so I wanted to help him out. He's been very kind to me, so I just wanted to help him out, so I came. So he said, so what is your profession? So he was very scared because he was standing in front of Supreme Court judge, and he said, there's nothing going to happen to you, just tell me the truth. And he said, actually, I'm telling you the truth. I've been a thief for a very long time, and but I've given it up now. I really have given it up. So he said, okay. So he said, so when you were cooking, what were you doing when you were cooking? He said, even though I've given it up, still my mind couldn't resist. When I saw all the silverware and how nicely all the prasad was served in silverware, everything being of silver, I couldn't stop thinking about it, and how, what items I could put in my pocket, what items I could put maybe in the garbage can, how I could take all of this. So I just kept thinking about this all the time. But I promise you, I didn't take anything. But just because I've been a thief, I was so conditioned, that's what I was thinking about. Then the Supreme Court understood. He said, okay, that's all I wanted to know. You can go. So you see, it was the thief who had cooked this, and this is what he was thinking. What item can I put in my pocket? What can I put in the garbage can? What can I put in the box that I'm going to take home? And this influenced a judge who had led his life so purely and was not eating food cooked from outside. So food, again, is such an important medium. And so this is just for us to understand. Of course, when we read further about, the other acts that you do, austerity, penance, speech, ultimately, as devotees, for us, Srila Rupa Goswami has given us a beautiful verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and it says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. So he defines pure devotional service, which is all of our aspiration who are sitting here, who are part of this temple, who want to serve Krishna simply to please him. So although all these acts are delineated here very clearly, or how we do, but we have several instances of devotees in the Srimad Bhagavatam who are constantly praying that, may my acts, whatever I do, may they just be a source of pleasure to Shri Krishna. Even Nand Maharaj, in the 10th canto, 47th chapter, he says, his prayer is when Uddhav is about to leave and go back to Mathura, as he has come to Vrindavan, bringing message of Krishna, he says, Manaso vrittayo nasyur Krishna padam bhujashraya vacho bhidai nimnam kayas tat brahmanadishu karmabhir brahmyamananam yatra kwapi ishwarichaya mangala charitairane ratirna Krishna Ishware. So he says, whatever faculties I have, may my mind, my speech, my body, be engaged in thinking of you, in glorifying you, in bowing down to you. And one would say, well, why? Why do you want to do all of these things? And he says, Ratirna Krishna Ishware, so that my rati, my love in Krishna increases. So as devotees, that is what our goal is, that whatever we speak, whatever we think, whatever we do, may it be pleasing to Guru and Krishna. And just regarding food also, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Sanatana Goswami, there also he says, Vishayera anna khaile malina hoye man malina hoile na pabe Krishnera charan. So if we eat, if we consume food especially grains that are cooked by non-devotees, our consciousness will become malina. Malina means dirty. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, man malina hoile. So if your mind is contaminated, malina, na paibe krishnera charan. So it's such a beautiful verse, something that can inspire us. Of course, in circumstances, sometimes we are in situations where it's beyond our control and we can't have maybe home-cooked prasadam. That can be the exception, but even in such circumstances, if we can avoid consuming grains prepared by non-devotees, it would be beneficial for us. And I myself in my life, I've seen personally that when even I offer prasad that has, for example, no red chilies or green chilies or all these really strong spices, and I have done that maybe over a week or 2 weeks, I have seen the difference it makes in my temperament as well. I'm not so easily agitated or not so much in anxiety when you have, really foods that are made in the mode of goodness. And again, our principal predominating thought should be, whatever I cook, whatever I speak, whatever I give, let that be. Whatever I do, may Guru and Krishna be pleased with that. So with that prominent, if that is our prominent consciousness, our activities will also lead to that. And hopefully then Guru and Krishna will be pleased with us. And Prabhupada says here that, those who think that all kinds of sacrifice or food or charity to be the same and cannot discriminate are foolish, because everything is not the same. It's like saying, I'll prepare khichdi and it should taste like matar paneer and, pulao rice and sweet rice. So it can't be like that. So you have to know the distinctions. And as a devotee, devotees are naturally, intelligent, and they want to understand ways of serving Krishna and Guru so that they please him. So I think that is where I will stop and invite any comments or questions, if there's any. Yes, Prabhu? Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. You see, the food which we eat, we should offer to Krishna.
Yes.
So whatever the foods also we take from outside, anything offer to Krishna.
Yeah.
That will purify us.
Yes, of course.
Even though cooked by anyone.
Even
though cooked by anyone. Not
It-
devotees.
Okay, so here it really depends on your consciousness. If you really feel that this food that is cooked by non-devotees has been accepted by Krishna, and in your consciousness it has pleased Krishna, then it will definitely not have any effect on you. If you have that consciousness that this has been accepted by Krishna and these are his remnants, then you will not. Like in Jagannath Puri, when you go to Jagannath Puri, the pandas there, they do not, so if I'm having prasad, they will come and take from my plate, because they have this deep conviction that this is Jagannath Mahaprasad. It cannot be contaminated by a person or a thing. So, in Hindi you say jutha. So because he's a panda and he worships Jagannath, normally, like even in the Goswami temples, if you see, even when they accept something from you, like in the Radharaman temple, this is not a criticism, this is just an observation of their standards. They ask you to put it there, they will not even touch you, right? And if they touch you, then they have to go and have a shower. So it's really on your conviction and your shraddha. If you believe that that food that has been cooked by a non-devotee and offered by you sincerely because of the situation that you are in, and you're unable to cook something yourself or have something that is cooked by a devotee, if that is your conviction, then it will not harm you in any way. Does that answer your question?
Thank you very much. So one point here I have to ask.
Yeah.
Just like Bhishma, Dev and Dronacharya, they were with Duryodhana and taking the food revenues from them.
Yeah.
And their conscious was completely on what Duryodhana consciousness was. Their conscious did not, they never thought of Krishna while taking the food or anything.
Duryodhan, you mean?
Duryodhana, Bhishma Pita and Dronacharya.
Yes.
But they were taking food from Duryodhana.
Yes, yes.
So, but that food which were they taking, they were not offering to the Lord and they were just taking the food.
Yes, so you see their consciousness then.
That's why their consciousness.
Yes, absolutely.
But you say that Bhishma Pita is a pure devotee of the Lord, so how he cannot do this thing?
So he is a pure devotee of the Lord, but, so there are two things. He is a pure devotee of the Lord, and the Lord uses his pure devotees to give examples to the jivas so that they don't make the same mistakes. So that's one thing. Because also, he is a pure devotee because can you imagine when we are ill or when we are hurt, is our first thought, Krishna? No, right? I mean, if I fall ill, I think my first reaction is, if I'm running a temperature of 104 or 103, my first reaction is paracetamol, right? The next thing will be, let me go to a doctor. Bhishma Pitama is lying on a bed of arrows. His body is pierced by arrows. He is bleeding. And he's thinking of Krishna. He's waiting for Uttarayan. Uttarayan also means when the sun passes into the northern hemisphere. But the real meaning of Uttarayan is Krishna. Uttara, who was in Uttara's garbha. He is Uttarayan. So he was waiting. So for people who are not surrendered to Krishna, then Uttarayan means the sun moving into the northern hemisphere. But for devotees, he was waiting for Krishna. And in that state, he has done Bhishma Stuti, where he's describing Krishna, how the dust from the battlefield is on his hair and how he's coming towards him. So his state of consciousness. And the reason the reason why he behaved in that way was to give an example. And he says, when Draupadi questions him, that when he's on his bed of arrows and Krishna brings Yudhishthir so that Bhishma Pitama can instruct him and lessen his grief somehow, and he's giving instructions on Stri Dharma, on Dharma, and Draupadi is there and she smiles cynically and just goes like that, and Bhishma Pitama sees that and he says, why are you laughing? And she said, Bhishma Pitama, you are instructing today on Dharma? What happened to your Dharma when I was being disrobed? Where was all this knowledge? And then he says, I have eaten food from Duryodhan, and at that time my intelligence was polluted, but Arjuna's arrows have drained all that blood from me, from my body. So now I can speak on Dharma. Does that answer your question? Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Food, eating food has so much of effect.
Yes. Yes.
Mataji, is it okay if we eat sometimes in the restaurants like
Outside? So, Hare Krishna, sorry. Mataji's question was, she made a comment on how food has an effect on your consciousness, and is it okay to eat in restaurants when you go out. Again, what Prabhupada also recommended was you avoid as far as possible, and if you're in a situation that you can't control, then you ask Krishna for forgiveness, and then you offer it to Krishna, ask him for forgiveness, saying you're in this situation, and then you can have it. But really try to avoid as far as possible. Or if you must go to a restaurant, then have something that is non-grain. So you can have milk products, you can have a salad, maybe a sabji, but try to avoid grains. These absorb the consciousness of the person who is cooking very strongly. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I think somebody had a question here. Well, here the prasad is cooked by devotees, and the temple prasad is also cooked by devotees, and it is offered to Lord Krishna. So this is.
And one other comment that I had was, does it also depend on the consciousness, the purity of consciousness of us when we are taking prasad?
Absolutely.
Because I just heard that as the consciousness purified, then the food has a greater influence.
Yes.
On that. And one of the examples that I heard was that if dust falls on your skin, then you may not realize it.
Yeah.
But if it falls in your eyes,
yes.
So it can cause a lot of pain.
Yes. Yes.
So similarly, if the consciousness is pure, then if they eat food by not been good,
yeah.
has not been offered.
Yeah.
So it influences the consciousness.
Of course. I mean, you have from Chandogya Upanishad, you have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying it, you have Prabhupada saying it, you have Krishna saying it. In the previous chapter, he says, food that is not offered as sacrifice is sin only, in chapter 2. So, but it is also depend, also your consciousness, our consciousness when we are having prasad, because Krishna and his prasad, like Krishna and his name, are non-different. So you see, even when Prabhupada had prasad, he had it, he didn't have, he had it in isolation. He was sitting alone. And he would really, I think from some of his servants who had served him, they say that, it's there in Prabhupada's memories that he really, honored it like Krishna Prasad, like non-different from Krishna. So when we have prasad also, we should really honor it as Krishna Prasad, non-different from Krishna, non-different from his name. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Narrated from Supreme Court judge.
Yes.
Supreme Court.
Yeah.
In one spiritual story, I read the same concept but different. One minister, chief minister, he visits king's palace. After discussion, when he returns, he steals one golden bowl. Then he astonished how I did this.
Yeah.
Then he inquired all these things.
Yeah.
Then he goes to that golem where cleans out. He inquired, today you cook from which food? The golem. He says the food grains seized from a thief. He stolen somewhere and the food grains ceased from
Hmm.
that. From that food grain we put today's. So here, not only the person who cooks, the food grains also, if it is stolen, that is same effect.
Yes, absolutely.
Sir,
Yes.
As soon as the foods offered to Krishna,
Yes.
Krishna purifies all contamination.
Yes. Yes, he does. But we also, like I said, our consciousness is also, important in this whole process also. Yes.
So whatever food we
Yes.
we must offer.
Yes. Yes. So not only food, like Krishna, in the next 13 verses, he will cover, speech, sacrifice, charity, body, speech, penance, all of these things he will cover, right? So all of these activities should be done to please him with the consciousness that I'm doing this, may you be pleased with this. Sometimes, we give in charity or we perform penance. Today is Ekadashi. Maybe somebody is doing Nirjal and cannot do it, and and maybe because of that has lost the opportunity to chant more. I know another, not a devotee, but another person who was doing this Navratri and wanted to fast just on moong dal water for 14 days. So that is something that's done in the mode of ignorance and done at the cost of, then her mother was the one who was making this moong dal water, and she was lying in bed all day long, so she couldn't even help her mother, and her mother was aged. So this was totally inactivity in the mode of ignorance, causing pain to others and herself also. And then they had to take her to the hospital. So we don't want to inconvenience others, right? So just all whatever is enlisted here, that we just please Guru and Krishna somehow with all our activities. Krishnanushilanam. Anushilanam means activity. Bhaktir Uttama. That is pure devotional service.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Today is Ekadasi.
Yeah.
We are discussing about food.
Yes, we are discussing about food, but prasadam and, actually we're discussing Krishna's Vani. So we're not discussing about food. We're not thinking, oh, this is what we can have for dinner, or, what can we have on the menu tomorrow. We're discussing Krishna's Vani here. So that's what makes the difference. Yes.
So Prabhupada says that preaching is the essence. So Ranchar Prabhu is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, is the first disciple of Prabhupada in India. So in due course of time, he cultivated the things of India. And as a result of that, when the devotees go, he can cook for about 10 days, continuously for a royal family, the entire royal family. So the queen has ordered the family members not to eat onion and garlic. No onion and no garlic in the royal family also.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you comment on why no onion and no garlic, number one? And number two, the second question I have is, in the third sloka, of the same chapter,
Yeah.
Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna is pure, we are part and parcel of him, and also we are pure, actually eternal.
Yes.
How does it work that if we are pure, how is it that we are getting contaminated by the different modes of nature?
Okay. So 2 questions. First is onion and garlic, the $1 million question. So Krishna says here that these are 4 foods in the mode of passion. And being, I don't know who's told the queen, and if she's doing it, then, all glories to her. At least she has listened. But also, like in Buddhism also, they don't use onion and garlic in their preparations because these ingredients, they agitate the mind. And when the mind is agitated, you can't think clearly, right? So that is why, this is on a material level that you can't think clearly. On a devotional level, Krishna doesn't accept these things. So as devotees, we would not. But for the queen, I think maybe her incentive would be that her mind would be peaceful and the mind of her family members would be peaceful and they would be able to think a bit more clearly. So that would be my take on the queen.
The devotees go there and they stay there for 10 days.
Okay.
The queen has the whole kitchen completely cleaned out.
Okay.
And the devotees cook and they also serve.
Okay.
And they're preaching to the Lord.
Well, that's wonderful.
So the queen was influenced that no anything.
Well, that's wonderful. That's actually wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And then your second question was on we being parts of Krishna and being pure because Krishna is pure. So how come we are contaminated? So it's like I can have a shower and I can wear clothes and my clothes get dirty. So my appearance is also dirty. Although I've had a shower and I'm clean, but the clothes I was wearing were clean, but they've become dirty during the course of the day. So because we are souls, our body is a covering. And the covering, because it is material, it is subject to the three modes of material nature. And and Krishna says, not in this purport, but he says the three gunas are commensurate for the three types of jivas. So the jivatma as such is pure, of course. But when it takes on a body, it takes on a body according to the previous karma, then under the particular modes of nature that the karma from the previous body accumulated. So does that answer your question? Okay, thank you.